Okay, thank you. And welcome to the regular council meeting agenda for Monday, May 1st. I'd like to call this council meeting to order, and I see that all council members are here. We acknowledge that this land is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of the First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, and of the Huron-Wyandot peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and of the original peoples of Turtle Island who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial. Please stand for the national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
At this time, I would like to send out condolences on behalf of the town of Essex to the family of the late Peter Timmins. It is with heavy hearts that we are sympathized with his family right now. Peter was on council for quite a long time and contributed to a lot of initiatives, not only in Harrow, but in the municipality of Essex. I will move to the closed meeting report to Miss Shelley Brown.
Mayor, I can report that council met in closed session on April 17th to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board as permitted by section 239(2)(c) of the Municipal Act. At this meeting, council directed administration to proceed with issuing a request for interest for the town-owned property. And that's the extent of my report.
Declarations of conflicts of interest from members of council tonight. I have Deputy Mayor Shepley first, and then we'll go to Councillor Mady.
Through you, Mayor Bondi, I have a conflict of interest with item 8.1 and 19.1.2. I was going to make a motion that we move those items to the front, but I guess we've already made that exception. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Mady.
You, Mayor Bondi. I have a declaration of interest on number 10.4, the economic Essex Tourism Events Fund applications. I'm a board member for the Heritage Colchester.
Thank you for those declarations of conflicts of interest from members of council. That will be noted. Looking for a mover to move the published agenda, and we are going to amend it since we have a delegation here present. We're going to bring up bylaw 19.1.2 and move it up, and also to under 8.1. So looking for a mover. Oh, and we have an addition of a notice of motion from Councillor Hammond. So looking for a mover, Councillor McGuire Blaze, seconded by Councillor Verbeek. Any questions to the amended agenda? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. Looking for adoption of the published of the regular council meeting minutes for April 17th. Looking for a mover, Councillor Guerin, Councillor Mady. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Looking for a mover for the special council meeting minutes for April 17th with representatives from Hydro One. Moved by Councillor Verbeek, supported by Councillor Mady. Any questions to those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, and now we will move to public presentations. And with us this evening, we have Michael Fife, investor with Aqua City. Michael, you've been here before, so you know that you come up to the podium, you have the mic, and when you start speaking, sir, you will have 5 minutes. and then members of council will get to ask questions of you. Welcome.
Mayor. Just a small correction there, as I am one of the directors of Aqua City. Would like to thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us back to talk, as well as for all the work that you've put in, and thank you for all the input and all of the necessary legwork. So we're here tonight to talk a little bit more and explain more about the project and why you should vote in favor of the motion to approve the bylaw. The real question tonight is if you and the people you represent support a business down on the water or not. After door knocking and an impromptu debate at one of the local establishments that is visited by quite a few of you on council, as well as being a prior place of employment for one of you, we've been able to get an accurate temperature of the local opinion. We found that once people were educated on true facts and not necessarily what has been circulating on social media and in the news, there was an overwhelming opinion of it's just one season to start with, and that will help to determine if this is meant for our village of Solchester, as it was so eloquently called. So, you know, we did do our due diligence on that part of it too, because what we heard from a lot of you was, well, have you actually asked the people? And we did. We went out and, okay, some of you, maybe not, because you weren't out when we were out. But, you know, the second part of it was, you know, what's the value to the community? And when we look back at your council meetings, we wanted to ensure that we were not presenting an idea that was outside of the directives and mandate that the people represented by council have asked for. So during this review, we were able to identify that so far as a council, you have committed to increasing support to small and medium businesses through public-private partnerships, and to help with job creation and increase the availability of activities available to youth and families. We feel that this project complements these objectives well. You know, a public-private partnership to initiate a unique family-friendly activity, a novel revenue stream to add to the town coffers, supporting youth entrepreneurship and job creation, a local company with a safety-first directive with unique proprietary safety and life jacket protocols, well-vetted business plan to ensure that the liability is not a concern, and injecting the local economy with additional revenue to local businesses, with a willingness to share costs to improve the safety at the beach with the safety audit that you've asked for. So the most important part of tonight, I believe, is talking about concerns and how these concerns need to be addressed. Because if I were here and I didn't know the facts that I know, I'd want some answers to my questions too. So the number one being parking. And we get it. We've driven around the village. There's lots of parking, but it's not right at the beach. So, you know, we've also talked to other locations about their interests in this project. And, you know, we found that their councils and their mayors have been very proactive with trying to provide solutions, because parking is an issue at every beach. So, you know, that's something that we would have to partner with and provide solutions. And that's what we're about. We're about partnering with the community, partnering with everyone to address concerns and to mitigate risk as much as possible. You know, we've got people coming to us with shipwreck concerns, but the location of the inflatable is far enough away from this, and we would be hiring the same company to install the concrete weights that has done work at the marina and have firsthand knowledge of the shipwreck. So fishing, hey, this is one of my big things too. But I mean, I've been fishing since I was a little kid, and if I can hit the park with my best cast, I should be joining the Bassmasters down in Florida, because as it's been singled out, you have to have a,
No, you have about 15 seconds left.
all right. Liability, the lease agreement shifts the liability to Aqua City and our insurer. And I mean, we're not looking to take up any more of your beach. We've got another location that we'll be doing the onboarding at.
We have questions from members of council to the proponents, and I did let council know that each councillor gets one shot in asking their questions. So members of council, get your questions all in a line. Thank you.
Ask if we could hear the rest of his presentation. He was on the last one and he was addressing a lot of the issues I think are going to be asked, so I didn't want to be redundant. So if I can get a second on that, I'd like to just hear the rest of it.
Councillor Verbeek, seconder on that motion. All in favor of that motion? Okay, continue.
Thank you, Councillor Guerin. Thank you, Councillor Verbeek. So we covered fishing, we covered liability, safety. I mean, with any activity like this, safety has to be the number one concern. I'm a father. I'm a stepfather. You know, I've got 6 kids to look after. So, you know, safety is the number one concern. And that was my concern for not wanting my kids to go on one in the first place until I went on it with them. And I was like, oh my, they've thought of everything. So there's not been one fatality or serious life-threatening reported accident in these parks in Canada. And we've consulted with all the parks in Canada at this point, parks all over the world, because this was one of our concerns, is how much do we actually have to worry about that? And we have a comprehensive safety plan that's going to be executed by highly trained lifeguards and to be audited by the Life Saving Society of Canada prior to operations commencing, so that once again, that liability is going back on us, not the town. Beach real estate. Well, we're going to facilitate online registration, which will encompass 90+% of the participants to ease the congestion anywhere near the beach. And we've sought out 2 other locations to do onboarding, one being the green area off to the very west of the beach, that's right by the municipal drain. There's a very small area down there that's about 10 by 20, or off beside the Colchester Beach sign up top. These are things that will be worked out with Jake and the administration, but you know, we aren't all for needing to have your space on the beach, because we don't want to you know, have that with all the beachgoers. So increased numbers of people coming to your beach. Well, I'm sure I'm not breaking the news to you, but your hidden gem is no longer hidden. It's one heck of a gem, I'll tell you, and that's one of the reasons why we've been coming to Colchester for years. But it's not hidden anymore. So, you know, we don't want to be a part of the issue. We would rather want to help you and partner with you to be a positive change down there, rather than having to respond to it afterwards. Weather and wave action. It wasn't real hard to find information on this, because your council a few years back had commissioned a study by Stantec to redevelop the harbor. And within that report, it stated that in the area where that water park will be, there, even in the 1 in 100 year storm, the maximum that waves will get is 1.8 meters. I mean, we were out there today and it was rainy. It was 25-kilometer winds coming onshore, and the waves were about 2 feet. And somebody asked us today when we stopped for lunch, so how do you feel about your water park being out on that water right now? Well, it's designed to withstand ocean waves. So these waves, I know Lake Erie can get really rough. I know this. I've been out on an 18-foot boat fishing and have to turn around and come home. But the majority of the time, that's not the case. You're wondering about an emergency plan. Well, we do have an emergency plan in place. It's part of the business plan that we gave to council. It's been part of the plan all along to have a mustering point for an emergency evacuation if somebody should break an ankle or the most common thing that we've heard from all these other parks is having an anaphylactic reaction because they got stung by a bee on the beach prior to getting onto it or those sorts of things. So we do have highly trained people that are going to be in charge of health and safety. It's the key. And then, I mean, we're talking about interfering with the view and the sunsets. It's going to be out there on the water. It's not 40 or 50 feet tall. It's going to interfere with some people's views for 3 months of the year, not the whole year, for a season. So, you know, it's not going to interfere with the view of those sunsets the entire year long. And but it's going to be there. It's something that's not there now. And security of the park, it was another thing that people were asking about. Well, we've been given the okay by the town to install a video camera at the end of the pier, which will be monitored closely with motion recognition to alert the park operators of any access after hours. Not only that, but the entrance to the Boyd area is going to be closed off after. So it would be really hard to gain access. And I mean, but people are going to do what they're going to do, and we can't prevent that. Not even having a security guard of your nature down there prevents people from getting into the marina. So how are we expecting to make sure that nobody gets on here? We can't. We can just do our best to respond to it, and we will. So thank you once again for giving me the extra time to finish the presentation.
Questions? I mean, you can ask as many questions, but each counselor will have one opportunity. Counselor Hammond, did you have your hand up? Or
I do have a question for the delegate. Through you, Mayor. You stated you were out there today to the harbor, the lake, the beach. Would you have been operating today?
Yes.
Thank you.
that question, Counselor Hammond, I saw conflicting, I saw a yes from Mr. Fife and a no in the back from Samantha. So I'm not sure if it's a yes or no. Do you want to clarify?
Well, it would depend what part of the day we're speaking about. Because as we've developed in our plan, within a half an hour of weather turning nasty or the waves picking up more than we'd like it to be, we would close it and have everyone's, canceled for the rest of the day.
Further questions from members of council to the delegation? We have Counselor Verbeek and then Counselor Allard.
Madam Chair. You're looking at now moving the registration to mostly online, but you'll still need a registration tent to, for those that haven't registered online. And I believe you're talking about putting it up near on the hill now, where the sign is. But you'll still require a staging area, a holding area, where all of the where they have to put on their life jackets and wait to swim out to the apparatus, and then also swap out, right? So are you looking at doing that at the top of the hill as well, or have a secondary place on the water's edge? I'm just trying to get a visual.
To the delegation, I'm not sure which one would like to take that.
When we were at the park in Barrie, there was half an hour between each hour play slot, which during that half hour, you are putting on your life jacket and then going into the water. So it's not like you're waiting on the beach necessarily the entire time. You're also going into the water to get the feel of the water and make sure your life jacket's on properly. But while those people are in the water, the next ones will come off. So it's not necessarily at the same time there's going to be 120 people waiting on the beach ready to go on or off. I think that it'll be a fair trade-off.
So where do you visualize them putting on and off all the 120 jackets is my,
This is something that we're willing to work with the city. If you do not want us to be on the beach, then we're okay with that. If you want us to be up top where the park is, we're okay with that. We don't need to be on the beach. So wherever you guys feel comfortable with us being and without taking up parking space or beach space or marina space, we're willing to work with you guys. We don't know exactly right now because this is something that we could discuss with the city.
How many lifeguards will be on duty at one time?
So currently, we're looking at having one lifeguard for every 15 participants, as well as at least one more on the beach. Because, I mean, what I envision actually happening is, so we're actually going to have that lifeguard who is more of a manager on the beach, who's going to be there for probably even minor first aid of those other beachgoers who aren't participating even on Aqua City. But that's going to be one of their jobs, is to make sure that there's a good flow through. And so there will be a minimum of 5.
Minimum of 5.
Minimum of 5.
So these lifeguards are on the apparatus for how many hours at a time?
1 hour at a time with a half-hour break in between,
So they have to swim back too.
if they so choose. But yes, they'll be doing a circuit through it, you know, moving from this part of the park to this part of the park to that part of the park. And if they want to come back,
I'm just
In
thinking,
between.
like, if you need a lunch break in there,
absolutely. That's why we'd have extras,
you have
so
one.
that at least one extra,
That-
depending on the day.
Yeah,
Make sure all the questions are coming through the chair and not back and forth. Thank you.
evaluation plan. You've got storm coming and you've got kids on there. How fast do you think you can get them to the beach?
We wouldn't let them out in the first place.
Well, you can't predict when a storm or the waters turn way ahead of time and have them kids on there and off there at a certain time. Because they all got to swim back to shore. And you've got little kids swimming 150 meters. And also, if you get somebody that's a 15-year-old, a fair-sized boy, a lifeguard has to swim that boy back to shore. He could be knocked out. 150 yards is a long time to swim with somebody on your back. That's all my questions.
Just Mayor Bondy, if we could keep the questions in line and not an argument back and forth with the delegates, please.
Deputy Mayor, your point of order is noted, but I believe being in conflict, you should probably not even declare a point of order. Would be my advice. I'm not sure.
Point of order. Let's not have a back and forth argument here.
Fire, please. Okay, anything further, Councillor Allard? Okay, any other council members to have questions towards the delegate? Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, through the mayor. Yeah, I mean, all these operational concerns about lifeguards and all this stuff. Right now, we have a beach down there that on any given day can have 400 people on it, 300 people on it. They go swimming and we have no lifeguard down there right now. Somebody can go out there with the waters the way they were today. If they were as bad as you're saying they may have been today. And no one's stopping them from going out there, just swim as far as they want. And he's got no help on there. So I don't understand why we're getting involved with the operational stuff, but let's get into the operational stuff. I read the proponents' business plan. I hope everyone else on council has read it, and I've asked them questions. I've read all the emails for and against. I've not changed my position on the proposal. I'm still in favor of it, at least for the one trial season, which could amount to 2 or 3 months. And then we take a pause next year and we reset and we look at the situation before we agree to another term. And I think with it being on town-owned property, I think we should reserve that right anyways. The lone concern I share of most is really the limited availability of parking. And it's really at certain times of the summer. I mean, I don't live down there, but I can imagine on weekends where it's a beautiful day, people are driving down to that beach. I get it. I mean, so there's never going to be enough parking to satisfy everyone's needs, but it is, and the proponent himself is also identified with the concern. So as far as I'm concerned, everything else to me is simply distractions from what it is we're really being asked to consider here, which is an added water attraction to our already beautiful beach at no added cost to the taxpayers of Essex. I do, however, want the proponent to satisfy council that they will engage in a parking strategy that will help nullify the concern with respect to limited parking in and around the beach, particularly in the summer months that you're going to be operating. There seems to be two other concerns too that most people are having. One concern relates to that of operations that we've already spoke about. I mean, how will the proponents deal with the lack of staffing, shortages of lifeguards, security, water conditions, beach closures, ability of some to swim out to the attraction, safety of the attraction, risk associated with operating the attraction? And they're all concerns that the proponent needs to deal with. And if they want to be successful, just like any other business owner in our town. In addition, they must follow the safety guidelines and safety protocols, which the town will set for them at the conclusion of the mandatory safety audit. The safety audit is going to drive what he can and cannot do down there. Other concerns seem to be more territorial in nature. They seem to be, just for reasons like, I just don't want it on my beach. And that's fine. That's a legitimate concern. If you live down there, that's fine. There's no problem with that. But at the end of the day, the beach is for all of us to enjoy, all of us in the town of Essex. In my eyes, the town gets a cool water attraction, the only one of its kind in this region, at no cost to the taxpayer, no more risk to the town, and we get to earn revenue on the attraction that we can in turn use, perhaps help solve the real problem down in the Colchester Beach, which, as I said, is the limited parking. So again, I mean, we can all agree that the parking is an issue, and I think this may be one way that we may be able to get the dollars we need to put into the plan, which will be coming to council soon with regards to parking down there and what we're going to need to do. So I'm still in favor of it. And again, one season, couple of 3 months, and then reset, and let's justify like whether it's something we want to have next year. Thanks.
Garen, I have Councillor Mady, Councillor Pine, and Councillor Smith and Councillor McGuire Blaze that have yet to speak. So I think we had Councillor Pine.
Hi, I have through you, Chair. So now we'll have a lifeguard on the beach who will be able to assist all those who have previously not had a lifeguard at all while swimming. Is that correct?
Yes, that is their job.
Am I able to ask a question to administration? So if you know this, how big was the 2 previous businesses that were down on the beach who are selling attractions in comparison to this spot on the beach? I believe it was 10 foot by 10 foot. Is there a difference there?
Your question, Councillor, and we'll go to Director Morrisou.
Mayor Bondi, that would be correct. They were 10 by 10 tents.
Through you. So we've already had something similar twice to this. That's all. No further questions. Thank you.
Councilmember, you got the system down pat too. This is great. Great job. Councillor Mady, Councillor McGuire Blaze, Youth Councillor Smith. Oh, okay, Councillor Mady.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Mayor, just first, point of clarification. Did we bundle the actual passing of the 3rd bylaw with receiving the proponents? No, this is still just about receiving the, all right, thank you. So then to the Aqua City, how many people would this employ?
We're looking at employing 15 people.
Thank you. And yes, through you, Madam Mayor. When you said that you were going to be partnering with the town on the parking problem. Do you have any information on what that might look like yet, or is that just something you're still working on with our town?
So that great question, which has been a question on everyone's mind. But we're waiting to hear back about some studies that have already been in progress to see how we might be able to help alleviate some of these issues, because that's what we're here for. We're local, so we want to provide solutions, not more problems. Thank you.
Member Smith, and then we'll go with Councilmember McGuire, please.
You, Madam Mayor. If something were to happen with the shipwreck while we were installing the inflatable tube, what would we try to restore it? Will we leave it broken? Just wondering what would happen there. And also, if people were out on the inflatable tube and it got canceled due to waves, say we were in like the first 10 minutes of their hour jumping, would those people get a refund for missing out on their time, or would they just be lost or out of their $25?
I guess we have to share a mic back there, right?
That's okay. We share well. Thank you for the questions. As for the question with regard to the shipwreck, I'm going to be on hand, as is Sam personally, to make sure that those are the sorts of things that will absolutely not happen, so that we shouldn't have to worry about any remediation of that site afterwards. That shouldn't be an issue whatsoever, and it won't be. As for your second question, yes, absolutely. That's not fair. We'll have to give a refund on something like that. That's Mother Nature's fault. That's not the participant's fault or our fault even, right? So we can't expect you to get 10 minutes worth for full price, or a rain check or something of that nature. If you're still wanting to come back, those things most definitely will be dealt with fairly. Yes, thank you.
Councilor McGuire, please.
You through the chair. For me, I think you answered a lot of my questions in regards to safety and liability issues. I know that when you and I were speaking last week, you had talked about trying to become a community partner because Colchester is a close-knit community. I'm wondering if you had any plans to do something within Colchester other than just start a business. Were you looking to support other ventures like the schoolhouse, the markets there, or providing some kind of discount to Colchester residents? Is there something that you were looking to do to become a community member in Colchester?
Love to be able to buy a piece of property right there so that I could actually be a resident as well. However, they're not available. So yes, absolutely. We have since the beginning considered doing a local discount that will be hopefully substantial to most. I would think it would be substantial to enough, but I mean, I've been in business for a long time, and I'm a previous Rotarian from Chatham Sunrise. So I've been working with Samantha to be looking at the service groups in the area to see, how can we help? One of the big things that we did as a Rotary group in Chatham, if you ever drive through this time of year and you see daffodils at the side of the road, that was us. We put them everywhere. Myself, I probably planted 20 or 30,000 daffodils. And so did the rest of our members. But, even helping out with the Agricultural Society in Colchester, Harrow, the market down there, absolutely. We'd love to be able to help and give back. I mean, as long as everything goes well, we're looking to partner with, other groups to see if we can get some of the less fortunate out that can't afford these rates. It's understandable. Not everybody can. So how can we make that happen? And the best way to do that is through the locals and through the local groups, because you guys have a pulse on all that and who's in need and what have you. You know, we heard about a gentleman that passed not long ago in Colchester that used to go to the deli, you know, every week, every month, buying a couple $1,000s worth of meat, passing it out to those who are less fortunate. Well, wouldn't we all want to be able to do something like that for the members of our communities? That's what we're about. We want to give back. Absolutely.
Please. Okay, looking for a motion to receive the presentation from Michael Fife today, investor with, sorry, I know it says investor on my notes. It's highlighted. I'm supposed to read it. Aqua City be received. Councillor McGuire Blaze, Councillor Mady, any questions to receiving the presentation? Seeing none, all in favor of receiving the presentation? Thank you. That is carried unanimously. Now we are pulling up our bylaw. If you're following along, we are going to our bylaw section on our agenda, 19.1.2, bylaw 2241. Looking for a mover and a seconder for this bylaw. And again, members of council will only have one opportunity to speak to this. Councillor Hammond moves the bylaw. Supported by Councillor McGuire Blaze. Councillor Hammond, of the maker of the motion, do you want to speak to it first?
Through you. 2 weeks later, and I'm much more prepared to make a decision on this matter. Unfortunately, I haven't received any information that is going to allow me to change my mind. Residents of Colchester are overwhelmingly against it. And until you start getting further away past Harrow, does the consensus start to change? It's quite obvious that the less associated you are with the beach, the less frequency that you visit it, if you visit it at all. Those proponents seem to be more in favor of this venture. However, I've talked with others like lifeguards. They have concerns. Insurance brokers, they state the obvious. Also discussed it with the pro-businessmen in the area, and they stand united in their front. It sell. The heck with the wreck. You know, so what if a couple of kids might get sick? Let's have us all kids. And if I hear another person say parking problems are good problems, I'm just gonna. The fact is that sell every grain of sand that you can in that community while it's hot. Unfortunately, that's not the way I stand. Colchester was awarded the #1 beach in Windsor, Essex County, including Peewee Island. #1 beach, not #1 attraction. And it's my responsibility through the people of Colchester to maintain that status quo. So I will be voting against it. Thank you very much.
Morissette, did you have a clarification on something up here?
Thank you, Mayor Bundy. So I just wanted to point out, as the past couple of weeks have unfolded, there was an amendment to the lease agreement. So there was a couple clarification points regarding insurance and legal language. So those have been updated as well. An additional condition was added with respect to the rec and any subcontractors that would be part of the business operations, they would have to be fully insured and they would have to have WSIB and standard conditions that the town would have for contractors operating on the facilities. Other than that, everything else is status quo.
Benefits of why we do the first and second and then come back and do the third reading. It allows for public consultation and residents to really get involved. Okay, any other members of council wishing to speak to this motion? Councillor Mady.
To you, Madam Mayor. I would say, I don't think we've had enough public consultation yet on this. I think there's still some questions that are left that everybody would like to have. Everybody wants to know the rock solid. Is our beach safe? Is this going to be safe on our beach? everyone wants to know what our plans are for parking there. I'd actually like to make a motion to table this until we receive the safety report and until we receive our parking study done for Colchester and an open house at the Colchester Harbor, where we could have public input and then share the vision of that area, the harbor and our beach and everything associated with it, and make sure that this is a good fit before we do anything. If I have a seconder, I'd like to make that motion.
Then on the floor. Yes, we do. I think, just my thoughts on that particular idea, Councillor Meady, I've heard from many people, and I think we make the decision. We don't belabor this. We let this family either know whether they're going out tomorrow and purchasing equipment or whether they could approach another municipality. If we say no, they can approach another municipality. The residents have been really engaged. We've never had this many residents here in the municipality. I think every council member really, maybe potentially with exception of yourself, knows where they're sitting. We've had a lot of time to do research on this. And I think that, I think to be fair to all parties, we owe the proponents and our members of public. I really don't want the members of public being on edge, because if we think that they haven't organized tonight, if we pause this, more Colchester folks are going to be organized. I'll tell you that much. I know that much because they did for the Grove. They did for short-term rentals. So if we have to put this on pause, we better rent the Shaheen Room because Colchester's going to come out in numbers, not in support. And not in support. They will get organized. So I think it's best, and I think it's diligent for this council to rip off the Band-Aid tonight. That's my thoughts on it. Okay, so we've had Councillor Hammond speak, Councillor Meady speak, Councillor McGuire-Blaze.
Thank you through the chair. I just want to say, I have read all of the emails. I have talked to as many people as I could. I really feel like you just said, Mayor Bondi, they didn't like it when the Grove was there. The people of Colchester didn't like the Grove. The people of Colchester didn't like the bike rentals. This is to me, it's a not in my backyard scenario. And I've heard that's my beach. Don't ruin my sunsets. The demographic down there is 50 plus. We don't want this. But we have to take a look at it and say, this is for the entire municipality. This is not just for the handful of residents who live on the 3 roads that encircle the beach. So for me, it's a yes for me, because I see this as only a positive thing. This is going to bring the tourism. We have a request on here to give a grant for tourism, to bring tourists to Colchester. This is an opportunity to bring tourism to Colchester. It's an opportunity for our small businesses in Colchester to grow. This is going to bring new people to them. I'm hoping that the markets that Colchester wants to do will benefit from this endeavor. Every weekend that they have a market, they'll have an extra 200, 500 people coming into Colchester to go through that market. I don't see any negatives other than the obvious is parking. Administration is working on that. And again, parking is an issue everywhere. We also just hired a new bylaw officer who can help enforce parking, writing parking tickets on the roads where people are parking illegally. So there's so many benefits to this. I don't see the negatives. So it's a yes for me.
To you, Mayor. Yeah, so I went back to what I was saying originally. It's a 3-month trial. That's how I'm looking at it. I think the fear from the many that are against it may be that the 3 months might come and maybe it's not as big of a deal as they thought it was, possibly. 3 months gives an opportunity for the proponent to prove himself. So it's 3 months. I don't understand what the big deal is about it. It's 3 months, and then we reset, and then we're back at the table. Do we do another extended lease or not? So, I mean, how are we going to know if we don't try it? You know, and are we welcoming businesses or are we not welcoming businesses? So that's where I still stand on. It's 3 months.
Councillor Verbeek, if you wish to speak, this is everybody's. Councillor Verbeek.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I've been writing some things down while everybody's speaking. I want to thank the proponents. You've done a great deal here with your business plan and taking your time to talk to all of us counselors. And I did appreciate all the time you gave to me in our meeting, and administration and all their work on it. But my points that jumped out at me listening to you and preparing for this meeting is that this is great. Like, I'm looking at going to one of these with my grandchildren. This looks like a great thing. I'm looking at one that's in a quarry or a man-made lake as opposed to out on the open lake, though, because I have littles, a lot of littles. What you're proposing to bring to us is right at it's the targeted demographic is exactly what we're missing in this municipality, are our preteens and our teens. And I want more than anything to supply something more for them. And probably something like this would be ideal. Again, I have issues with the location. Our limited access to the waterfront being on the shore of Lake Erie is a very unique piece of this municipality. It's, as the proponent called it, it's a hidden gem. But it's also for all our residents, and it's free and it's fun for the family. And I'll be honest, I'm a little biased because I do not live in that ward. I do not live anywhere near the shore of our Great Lake. I live out here, but I bring my family to Colchester Harbor all the time. I made sure to make the trip out on Saturday so I could get, after we spoke, so I could see, okay, where are they talking about putting the tent now? And we spent 3.5 hours doing what we always do, having fun, free family time on our shore. So I get that this is a great venture. I myself know that I would love it with my family. I want to hit on the Grove. We got the Grove Motel. We landed that, and that's something that this municipality has needed for a very, very long time. And we should anticipate that their target to provide accommodations for tourists visiting our wineries, biking, fishing enthusiasts. And of course, they're going to drive up the traffic on the beach already. We've done a great job. You know, this, like you said, it's no longer a hidden gem. I don't bring the grands down there the 6-7 times a year we go for the day. I don't bring them on the weekend now because the larger community has found our gem, as you say, and that's okay. But I expect the Grove and the new bikes and all of that they're bringing to the community is going to drive up our numbers even more than it is. And I think we need to see where their idea, their target is to market, is to bring in all of the wedding guests that our wineries have these great venues now, and all the visiting people have to go out to neighboring communities for lodging. They're going to be able to stay right there on our waterfront, and so they're going to increase our beach traffic. So that is another serious concern of mine. And I just wanted to touch on, I heard not in my backyard. I've read all the emails as well. I've had a handful of people that are supporting it, and I've seen all the serious concerns in opposition. For me, this time, my 4.5 short years serving here, I've seen a lot of not in my backyards. That's not how I feel this is. I don't feel that that's it, because that little piece of shore belongs to all of us. And it's a small piece of shore, but it's to all our Essex residents. When I have friends from out of town, I bring them there because it's my beach too. I don't live anywhere near it, but it's the entire municipality's beach. So in this case, I don't feel like it's just not in my backyard case. So I support Sam and her family and this venture, and I wish them the best. And I think it's a brilliant plan. I don't think, for me, it's not the right location. We have this little piece, this gem for families for free fun, and we don't have that. That's the only access to beach we have as a municipality. I'm sorry, I won't be supporting this.
Councillor Allard.
The chair, I noticed that our auditorium is full today, and the reason is because the people have spoke out and said what they want and what they don't want. I have very high safety and security concerns. I just think that it's not at this time. I am going to be against it.
We have, each council member had an opportunity in council meeting. We have our youth council members, and then the maker of the motion, Councillor Hammond, can speak one more time if he so wishes. Youth Council Member Pine, and then if you want to say anything, Youth Council Member Smith, you're more than welcome.
Mayor, so I too have saw and everyone what they're worried about. So one of them was the beach warnings and closures. Is the beach safe for one of these? So the numbers we're looking at, we have closures in 2 years. We only had 1 closure. Warnings, we had 6 each year in the past 2 years. Not too many. And also we're looking at, it's on a Great Lake. Is a Great Lake safe for this? Has it been done before? So I did my research, and there's currently one in Niagara, which is on Lake Erie, the same one, which has been extremely even successful there. And I'm sure that it could be successful here. I'm also a person who likes stats. So I went on Mayor Bondi's Facebook post, the first one that had a lot of comments, and I went through and individual comments, not multiple commenters. And in support, there was out of 200, 111 or 55.5%, neutral 27 or 13.5%, and against was 62 or 31% overall. Now, the question we really need to be asking ourselves tonight is not, is Colchester Beach for sale, but is Essex closed for business? It's not every day a company comes up to us and wants to invest in our community with no strain or liability on the town. To quote a wise woman, the status quo has got to go. So I urge this council to make a decision to change Essex's reputation of being closed for business or trying to stay small, but a reputation of a community of vision and growth. I know the type of Essex I want, and I hope that council shares that belief and will vote in support of this excellent addition to our municipality. Thank you.
Okay, before we go to Councillor Hammond, I do have some of my comments. I've been up here for almost 13 years now, and I've looked at it having 2 different types of councillors. You can have a type of councillor that says, I'm smarter than you, so I'm going to do what I want on behalf of you. And then you have the other type of councillor that says, I'm elected to represent your needs and advocate on behalf of you. And sometimes it's a little bit of both, right? When we raise wastewater rates, nobody likes it, but we read the research, we understand why. But here tonight, we're still fresh off the election. Colchester residents turned out in masses and really impacted the election. Colchester had the second highest turnout, and 60% of the people in Colchester voted for me. And I lived on Jackson Street for 15 years of my life. My parents still live on Lake Erie. During this past week, 2 weeks, I have had people come to my house, knock on my door all the time. I am stopped everywhere I go uptown because people know that I have been a Colchester constant for the last 12, 13 years on council. There's been no constant ward reps. They've come and gone and resigned, and I've been there. So I believe that Colchester residents are really looking for me for leadership. I also feel an extra level of responsibility sitting in this mayor's chair to do the best job for the entire municipality, but to also listen with Colchester, have a little bit of heart. Essex doesn't always say no. We're not closed for business, but we need smart, proactive business. I am not going to be part of a council or make my decision, my vote as a reactive, because in the past we've done that. We put the cart before the horse, and then people complain. And guess who they complain to? A lot. Probably me, because I've been there and I've got my name out there with my website, and the status quo does have to go. Yes, we need to start listening to the residents of Colchester because we've made several moves without consent. And it started with the Colchester Master Plan in 2010 to 2014, where we did it when the snowbirds were gone, came back and it had a pool right in the harbor. That got ixnayed. It came when we were almost sold the schoolhouse to the Grove. Colchester rallied, they organized, we found a better location. We do need to hit pause. We do need to address parking. I don't believe our proponents are parking engineers and going to be able to buy land and come up with solutions. That is a big problem down there. Our fishermen, the people that rent the boat slips pay prices. They pay premium prices for these boat slips. And if they go down there and have somebody from out of town taking up all the parking and they can't park, I have a big issue with that. So we don't always say no. We said yes to the Grove. We said yes to the bikes, to the bike bin. We didn't have public consultation and it bit us in the butt. The cons for this outweigh the pros hand over fist. We do have a small beach. I am not wishing the proponents any ill by any means, but I do believe their water bouncy castle would be better suited in places like LaSalle or maybe Kingsville or Leamington. And then we could potentially go there. I don't believe this is going to be a moneymaker at all. I don't think it's positive venture for everybody. I find it extremely offensive that we say that this is a not in my backyard issue, because if you have followed municipal politics in terms of Colchester, these poor folks have had their backs up and can't even relax for 6 months. They thought they voted in a council where they could finally relax and take a breath and not have to rally. Well, think again, because here we are again. This is not going to grow commercial and industrial land. We're not going to increase municipal taxes. I do believe it is a form of exploiting our public beach, where I've had locals tell me that they don't want to go there anymore. Locals saying, if this happens, I'm going to go to another beach because I just want to tap out at the beach. So I don't think it's good for everybody. And I think, I don't believe it's just a handful of people who are opposed. How you run your business and the safety checks, that's awesome. That's everything. That is not my business, how you run your business. I do have a lot of red flags with your business. That's not my business, but this beach is my business. This beach is this council's business. And I think that we have a lot of attractions bringing people to Colchester. And I don't think that this needs to be one to have a success in Colchester. And I think our local youth will use it a couple times a year, but I think primarily it's going to be people from outside our area. And we already know our staff are bombarded with cleaning bathrooms and emptying garbage cans. So if anything, for me, I think it's going to be an increase in expenses. So Councillor Hammond, you get the last words.
Yes, just final thing, I'll add to what the mayor had to say about the residents of Colchester. They've seen their community change dramatically in the last 10 years, and they really have had no control over it. With the wine industry being as popular it is, created a demand for, that's what it was, a demand for accommodations, and now many of the residents are surrounded by Airbnbs. I think we got more Airbnbs in the harbor than we do residents. So yeah, this is just another thing that the residents don't want, and they don't see the need for it, and there isn't really a demand for it. It's just an opportunity for a business to capitalize, possibly the town. So let's vote for residents of Colchester, and I would like to request a recorded vote, please.
Ms. Brown, we have a recorded vote requested by Councillor Hammond.
So we have a request for a recorded vote by Councillor Hammond regarding bylaw 2241 regarding the third and final reading. Councillor Hammond, how do you vote?
Councillor Hammond votes opposed.
Councillor Hammond is opposed. I know. Mayor Bonte, how do you vote? He is opposed. Deputy Mayor Shepley has noted a conflict of interest and will not be participating. Councillor Verbeek, how do you vote?
I'm opposed.
Verbeek is opposed. Councillor Allard, how do you vote? Councillor Allard is opposed. Councillor McGuire Blaze, how do you vote?
Support.
McGuire Blaze is in support. Councillor Mady, how do you vote? He is opposed. Councillor Guerin, how do you vote?
Support.
Vote of 5 opposed and 2 in support, the motion fails.
For coming out into the delegates. If you were here to watch this, you don't by any means have to stay. You can stay if you want, but you don't have to. It's good to see people in person again. We will move to reports from administration. Planning 2311 part lot control exemption for certain lands within registered plan in Essex Town Center. All right, Mr. Lucas and Ms. Verbeek, sorry. Planning report 2023-11 part lot control exemption for certain lands within the registered plan in the Town of Essex Center residential subdivision. Let the planning report be received and that bylaw 2244 being a bylaw to provide that part lot control shall not apply to certain lands within registered plan in Essex Town Center subdivision be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed on May 1st. And just for council's information, we do have a Jeff Baker, a lawyer in our audience, if anybody has any questions. Looking for a mover? Councilor McGuire Blaze, supported by Councilor Verbeek. Any questions to this? Seeing none, all in favor? There you go. You're free to go, sir. Fire and Rescue Services, Master Fire Plan Project Commencement, and we will we'll go to Mr. Arnell, our chief. I think he's on Zoom for us, and then we'll receive it after. Welcome, Chief.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you, and Council. Tonight, I'm before you to talk about Master Fire Plan. Our last plan, which was very successful, concluded in 2021, in which through Council's endeavors, 85% of that plan was invoked of the recommendations and they were implemented. Request for proposal was done in February for this plan and a selection process ensued. Lumex was selected. They were the highest scoring out of the two opponents we had. And as well, they were the most economical of the two proposals. Some of the primary goals we're looking for to get out of this plan is we want to provide a blueprint for the next 10 years for the Town of Essex Fire Service by reviewing our current operations and then coordinating population growth. So we got a great plan for the future. Also, we're going to review responses for our Station 3 Harrow station to look at and determine what would be the best location for a new fire station there if that was to happen. And the third thing, a community risk assessment for our community. This is a twofold assessment. It provides insight and trends in which fire can better prepare themselves and equip themselves to provide the service to the community. And also the second portion of that is it's in legislation that we must provide a comprehensive risk assessment by July 1st of 2024, and this master plan will provide us with that assessment. Just financially, we budgeted in 2023 capital budget $100,000 for this project, and the costs come in at $55,947.65, which includes non-refundable tax. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Chief Arnell, and what a great job you did with the last fire master plan, 85%. That's really amazing. So fantastic job to you and your crews. Any questions or comments from council members to our fire chief? Seeing none, looking for a motion that the Fire and Rescue Services report be received for information. Counselor Verbeek, Counselor Allard, any questions to the motion? Seeing none, all in favor. Thank you, Chief. Oh, you're here. You got another one. Fire and Rescue Services 2304 Emergency Management Program Committee. He might not want to speak to it. I don't know if looking for a mover that the Fire and Rescue Services report be received and that council appoint the following members: Director of Community Services, Fire Chief, Deputy Fire Chief, Assistant Deputy Fire Chief as the Emergency Management Program Committee, and that council appoint the Director of Community Services to be the chair of the committee. Looking for a mover and a seconder on that. Counselor Verbeek, supported by Counselor Hammond. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor. That is carried. 10.4, Economic Development 2306, Essex Tourism Events Fund applications. I'll go for a mover and a seconder, and then we'll have Director Chadwick speak. I need a mover that Economic Development report be received and that council approve the distribution of $1,000 of funding to Heritage Colchester for the Essex Tourism Event Funds, and that council approve distribution of $2,000 of funding to the Colchester South and Harrow Agricultural Society for the Essex Tourism Events Fund. Looking for a mover and a seconder on that. Councillor Hammond and Councillor Guerin, and we'll go to Director Chadwick before council.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi, and through you to council. So since this is the first time for some of our newest councilors seeing this type of report, we wanted to give you some context as to what this grant program actually is. The Essex Tourism Events Fund provides grant funding for events that attract visitors to the town of Essex, that support the vibrancy of our communities, and that stimulate tourism activity. Funds can be used to assist with the cost of marketing a new event, growing an existing event, or elevating event offerings. The intention of the grant is to recognize the value that events have in enhancing the town's profile as a tourism destination of choice. Tourism event funds are available on a first-come, first-served basis. Administration reviews eligibility according to the tourism events policy and provides council with a report seeking authorization to distribute. Although the report before you is only seeking to distribute a total of $3,000 in grants, we anticipate that most, if not all, of the available grant funding will be awarded this year, as we're now finding ourselves seeing more and more events being held throughout the community. More information on the Tourism Events Fund can be found on our website under the Discover tab. Thank you, Mayor Bondi.
Mr. Chadwick, any questions or comments from members of council? Councilor McGuire, please.
Thank you, through the chair. My only concern is we just had a big conversation about tourism in Colchester. They obviously, they have the bikes, they have the motel. Do they want extra tourism? Why are we giving grant money to Colchester when they just came out in droves and said, we don't want any more tourists?
I think you're trying to compare apples to apples, Councilor McGuire Blaze. I think it's different. The Heritage Colchester folks, some of them were just here. You could ask them, but their markets are very homegrown markets. They accommodate parking. It's a lot of local vendors. I think it's very different to the inflatable bouncy castle on the lake, where we don't have a whole lot of parking. I'm not sure. Any other comments from? Okay. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Because I've compared this event when we received the minutes on Thursday with some of the residents who were opposed to it, and they said that they weren't in favor of a market in Colchester, and don't lump them in with the rest of Colchester. So I'm wondering if this is something that we should put out to the public if they want a market.
I believe Councillor Mady is on he's declared conflict. As mayor, I've never once heard a complaint about the market there. I've heard nothing but accolades about it. Councillor Verbeek.
Through you, Madam Chair, again, apples and oranges, they have, it's almost, I have no desire to suddenly punish Colchester because they didn't want the jumpy castle, but in all the times these have been coming in front of us, we get these recommendations from our staff. And I don't ever have a recollection of us questioning the recommendation to support these important events. We need these community events in our community. And so when there's an opportunity to support them, that's what these funds are there for. And our staff is in place to bring to vet them and bring them in front of us. I think they've done their due diligence. They've brought it in front of us. They've recommended that we support it. I just historically, and I've never seen us question at this point, people in the community that want to bring an event forward for the community.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi. Just to clarify, and through you to Councillor McGuire Blaze, I understand the concerns and the comparisons. The report before us is not to approve or deny an event, but rather to approve or deny the disbursement of funds towards an event.
Here, myself, I've been down to the markets on nice sunny days. There's a big crowd. On other days, if it's raining, there's still a modularly sized crowd. I think the market is a good idea and this should go through.
I think we're just making a mountain out of a molehill, but I think it's brought something to my attention that maybe the new. Yeah.
You don't have to make that comment.
Okay.
Okay, it's
Fair
your
enough.
opinion, but you don't have to make it public opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Guerin. I think that we could have members of Heritage Colchester come to this council. They've had a new election and they could really explain the history of how Heritage Colchester came to form a lease with the school through our town. So I think it could be a little bit of an educational opportunity for council. Any further questions or comments on this? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. Capital Works and Asset Management. Surface treatment tender. That Capital Works and Asset Management Report 2023 be received and that council award the surface tender for 2023 to Shepley Road Maintenance in the amount of $608,000, including non-refundable harmonized sales tax. Looking for a mover here. Councillor Hammond, supported by Councillor Verbeek. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Capital Works and Asset Management, 2023 Ridge Road Rehabilitation, Phase 1 tender results. Looking for a mover that Capital Works Asset Management 2023-04 entitled Ridge Road Rehabilitation, that council award the Ridge Road Rehabilitation Phase 1 to Walker Construction in the amount of $465,000, including non-refundable harmonized sales tax, and that council approve the additional funding of $145,000 above the approved 2023 capital budget of $320,000 for Phase 1 of the Ridge Road Rehabilitation, County Road 20 to Huffman, from the town's Canada Community Benefit Reserve, previously the gas tax. Looking for a motion. Councillor Mady, supported by Councillor Allard. Any questions to administration? Councillor Mady?
So in the report there, it said that the cost went up because there was some concrete at the road and we couldn't pulverize it, so we have to do a different. My concern is that Eiler Road is in just as bad shape, and hopefully we're gonna be moving over there soon. Is there any thought about looking at that first to see if the road constructions are similar or they're different?
Mr. Macbeth, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi, through the chair. We've already started to look at Eiler Road because it's going to be a future road that we want to complete. We are looking to do the same cold recycled on that road as well. We determined that based on the conditions we're finding on Ridge Road, we're expecting the same on Isler Road. We're not sure if the concrete is under the road, but just having the sandy soils that we have in the area and making sure that the construction process that we use is the best for the town. We're recommending doing cold recycling when we do Isler Road in the future.
Further questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. Capital Works and Asset Management 2023-05, Bryan Avenue West from South Talbot to Sweetman Avenue proposed sidewalk. Looking for a mover that the Capital Works and Asset Management report be received and that council approve the additional scope for work for the Ward 1 Southwest Area Storm Sewer Improvement to include the construction of sidewalks on Bryan Avenue West from South Talbot Road to Sweetman Ave through the upcoming 2023 annual sidewalk maintenance tender up to the amount of $200,000. Looking for a mover and a seconder on this. Councillor McGuire Blaze, supported by Councillor Allard. Any questions to administration on this? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. Community Services Memorial Recognition Program, looking for a mover that the Community Services report be received. Councillor Allard, supported by Councillor Mady, and we will go to Director Morissette here for a quick summary.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi. So this program the town has is to provide recognition for those that have family members or events that have taken place, to recognize their lives if they had passed away, or a special event that might have taken place. So the town has, for the past few years, had benches and trees that you can plant. And basically what happens is the town would install either a bench on a concrete pad or have a tree and install a plaque with both of those with name recognition to recognize those situations. So one additional thing that the town has implemented this year is the offering of a picnic table as well. There was requests in the past for that. So that has been added to this, and the program is intended to be not only recognition, but for the town, it's a cost recovery to add these additional amenities into park spaces without having the impact towards budgets.
Questions or comments from Councillor Verbeek and then Councillor Mady.
Madam Chair, thanks, Director Morissette. I think adding the picnic table is just great. I was excited to read about it, and I'm wondering if we couldn't springboard from this and do some, maybe some social media and put it out there, because a lot of the people in the municipality don't really know that this is an option.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi, and through you to Councillor Verbeek. So that is the intent of this, is there's going to be a program, a marketing campaign that's going to happen from this point forward. This was essentially the announcement toward the beginning of the spring and summer season, where most people are looking at this stuff. But from here, we are looking at doing a marketing campaign as well.
Other questions from members of council? Oh, sorry, Councillor.
I think it's a great program. I love it. It looks great. I was just thinking that when I was reading the report that, you know, a lot of times they say, I want to have my funeral, I'm still alive, so I can see the people that come out to it. And I was just wondering, is there anything that we can do that if somebody wanted to donate a bench and have their name on the plaque while they're still alive? Is there any avenue for that?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Bondi. Yeah, they can certainly do that. It's not necessarily just a recognition program for those that may have passed away. You could certainly do that if you wanted to. Essentially, it would still follow the same program guidelines. And if they were to put some sort of naming plaque on it, we could certainly at a later date amend that plaque if they were to decease. We could look at that.
Creative. Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Madam Mayor, again, I think it's a fantastic idea. The addition to the picnic tables is more of a comment than anything. We have a business in town, and we do have the United Church allows us to use their grass, and I find people come and use those tables all the time. So anytime you have a picnic table, they're not even customers, they just come and use the tables. I think it's fantastic that they have a place in town, all around town at our parks that they can come and eat at and enjoy the family time. It's important, and I think it's an excellent addition. Thank you.
Questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. Community Services 2023-10 Special Events Notice, Spring Garden and Boat Show, May 20th. Looking for a mover that Community Services report be received and that council approve closing King Street from 50 King Street West to 119 King Street West and Victoria Street North to King Street to 18 Victoria Street North between 10 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. for the Spring Garden and Boat Show. Looking for a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Guerin, Councillor Allard, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. 1010 Community Service Special Events Notice, Colchester Walleye Derby on June 10th. Looking for a mover that the Community Services report be received and that council approve a temporary noise exemption in accordance with noise bylaw 2038 from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. on June 10th at the Colchester Park to accommodate the entertainment for the Colchester Walleye Derby, and that council approve the Colchester Walleye Derby for significant event status for the purpose of applying of their special event permit. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Allard and Councillor Guerin. Any questions? Pretty straightforward. It's a fun event. Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. 1011 Infrastructure Services. Looking for a mover and a seconder that Infrastructure Services 2023 be received and that council appoint Stantec Consulting to complete a stormwater modeling study of Essex Center stormwater system in the amount of $101,000, including non-refundable HST in accordance with the completed request under Section 22 of the town's procurement bylaw, and that council authorize the expenditure of $101,000, including non-refundable HST, to complete a stormwater modeling study of the Essex Center stormwater system from the 2023 operating budget. Looking for a mover and a seconder of that. Councillor McGuire Blaze, Councillor Mady. Any questions to administration? No, this is good to have. Okay, all in favor? Carry unanimously. Operations 2023-03 results of the request of tender for the backhoe loader. Looking for a mover that the operations report be entitled Results of Request for Tender be received and that council award the request for tender of the supply backhoe loader to Brandt Tractor Limited in the amount of $225,000, including non-refundable non-refundable sales tax. Looking at Councillor McGuire Blaze, Councillor Allard. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. Legal and Legislative Services, the appointment of the Animal Control Appeal Committee. Looking for a mover and a seconder of the Legal and Legislative Services Report 2311, that council appoint Terry Coots, Richard Kokove, and Chris Ortner as members of the Animal Control Appeal Committee for the limited purpose of educating an upcoming appeal to be scheduled, and that an honorarium of $100 be paid to each member of the Animal Control Appeal Committee for serving. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Allard, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of that? Okay, I don't think there's any opposed. Carried unanimously. Reports from our youth council members. Okay, we will go to youth council member Pine first.
So it was a good couple of weeks since the last meeting. Essex District High School's grade 11 leadership class was able to go out and paint windows for Caden's Dream Walk, which was for organ donation, which occurred last weekend. We had a very successful garbage cleanup with me and my partner in crime, Councillor McGuire Blaze, being able to get 5 bags of garbage and some pipes out of a ditch. So that was always good to see. And we beat Kingsville, so that's always a good thing. And as well, we have McDonald's McHappy Day coming up on the 10th, which myself and Lauren will be helping at. So we're very excited for that. It's been a good couple of weeks and we're looking forward to some more momentum in the upcoming weeks. Thank you.
Youth Council Member Smith. You are 2 really active youth council members, and I really appreciate it. It is such a nice breath of fresh air here. County Council update, Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Much to report or to speak of, other than what's probably, if anybody's watching, that we did decide that we were gonna have our meeting via Zoom for the official plan, and no date has been set for that yet that I'm aware of. And that's everything. Thank you.
Questions, Deputy Mayor Shepley?
Through the chair. I don't know if you can answer this, but I know one of the things that people are worried about is they won't be able to have a say, especially with it being via Zoom. Is there going to be an opportunity for the public to speak, like as if it were in person?
My understanding is they'll have to register as a delegate and they'll be allowed to speak based on that. I do understand that there's probably a number of people that won't be able to attend via Zoom. I myself had trouble with Zoom at our last meeting, as did Mayor Bondi. So I did vote against it because of that. And I think but that's the way the council ruled of the day. So that's what we'll be doing. Thank you.
I believe the motion even stated that they will have one Zoom meeting, and if that fills up, they will host another one if need be. Do you recall that? Deputy Mayor Shepley?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that was discussed and posted and was not part of the actual vote at the.
I'll have to go back and look at the motion. Because I'll go back and look at the wording. Okay. I don't think we need a motion for that to receive that. Correspondence 13.1, that all the correspondence and listed agenda item 13.1 we received and we're indicated to further share such information with the community using suitable methods of communication. We have a lot of letters of support for a reinstatement of legislation regarding tax sale proceeds. So that's exciting. Looking for a motion from council to receive them all, and then Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Hammond. Any questions on receiving them all? We can pull one out after. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. And I do believe that 13.1.5, one of our directors, Director Gerard, went away on a conference, and I think I'm going to tell him to share what he learned, because he shared it in the agenda review and it was so good. So Mr. Gerard.
No pressure. Basically, I did attend the Ontario Good Roads Conference this year that was held in Toronto. At that meeting, at that conference, something that came up was this Let's Remember Adam campaign, which was a pretty moving campaign, actually. A non-for-profit group that advocates for children that, get on and off the bus every day. It all started essentially from Adam's brother started this and his family, because Adam was actually hit by a car who violated a stop sign on the school bus and was hit and killed in front of his own home. That group since has lobbied the provincial government and are one of the responsible parties for ensuring that Ontario school buses have amber lights now. So if you're ever driving down the road and you yield to a school bus, you'll notice that they have amber lights that shine now before red lights. That's they're in partnership or in part the reason for that happening. One of the things that was actually really shocking for me was that it's estimated that 30,000 people violate school bus stop signs per day in Ontario. So there is a real need to look at something like this. So it's a really good community group. We have discussed this many a times at council. I do recall that, and Councillor Verbeek has brought it up quite a few times. But the new thing that they are advocating for is this automated enforcement for stop arm cameras, which I think is a fantastic initiative. And I think I just, when you think about a school bus and stopping for a school bus, you have to think that when that school bus stop sign is out, there's always a pedestrian there. So it's not the same thing as a stop sign at an intersection. There's always someone there. There's always someone looking to safely cross the road and go home. So I'd probably leave off by saying, when you're driving down the road, take your time, pay attention, and yield for school buses, because those are our kids trying to come home safely.
Any members of council want to pull any correspondence out? Councillor McGuire, please.
The chair. In regards to this this letter, can we, as an administration, write a letter in support? Because I do think that, it's something that we should support, and it's something that's important.
And from Counselor McGuire Blaze to write a letter in support. Need a seconder? Counselor Verbeek? Any questions to that motion? Seeing none, all in favor? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, Counselor McGuire Blaze. Any further correspondence that any members of council wish to speak to? Okay, seeing none. Correspondence to be for receive and support. Essex Fire and Rescue Services International Fire Day. Will get a motion for the resolution. I need a mover and a seconder that the correspondence from Essex Fire and Rescue Services asking council to consider proclaiming May 4th International Firefighters Day in the town of Essex be received and supported, and that council proclaim May 4th as International Firefighters Day in the town of Essex by adopting the following resolution. So looking for a mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Allard. All in favor of that? That is carried unanimously, and we made it by like 3 days. Woohoo! And we'll go to our Deputy Clerk, Miss Brown.
The Mayor, so that the council proclaim May 4th, 2023 International Firefighters Day in the town of Essex by adopting the following resolution. Whereas firefighters dedicate their lives to the protection of life and property, and sometimes that dedication is in the form of countless hours volunteered over many years. In others, it is many selfless years working in the industry. In all cases, it risks the ultimate sacrifice of a firefighter's life. And whereas International Firefighters Day is a time where the community can recognize and honor the sacrifices that firefighters make to ensure that their communities and environment are as safe as possible, it is also a day in which current and past firefighters can be thanked for their contributions. And whereas International Firefighters Day is observed each year on the 4th of May, where we remember the past firefighters who have died while serving our community or dedicated their lives to protecting the safety of us all. And show our support and appreciation to the firefighters worldwide who continue to protect us so well throughout the year. And whereas hailing from all walks of life, there are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, neighbors, and friends. They protect us without the wanting of recognition or reward. In our time of need, they are there with courage, compassion, and loyalty. They are the essence of the true meaning of community.
Now therefore, I, Sherry Bondi, Mayor of the Corporation of the Town of Essex, on behalf of the Town Council and community at large, now call upon all citizens in the Town of Essex and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the day of May 4th, 2023, in recognition of the patriotic service and dedicated efforts of our fire and emergency services personnel. And I see our chief has joined us again. Okay. I think that's, we voted on that. Okay, 13.2.2, Fibromyalgia Association Canada, needing a mover and a seconder that the correspondence from the Fibromyalgia Association Canada asking council to consider proclaiming May 12th as Fibromyalgia Awareness Day in the town of Essex be received and supported, or just received, and that council proclaim May 12th as Fibromyalgia Awareness Day in the town of Essex by adopting the following resolution. Looking for a mover and a seconder, Councillor Verbeek and Councillor Allard. Any questions to that? Seeing none, all in favor? And we'll go to you, Miss Brown, again.
Proclaim May 12th as Fibromyalgia Awareness Day in the town of Essex by adopting the following. Whereas Fibromyalgia Awareness Day aims to raise awareness and end the stigma and discrimination that accompanies this chronic illness. And whereas Fibromyalgia Association Canada is the only national organization in Canada that supports only fibromyalgia. And whereas fibromyalgia affects about 5% of Canada's population, over 2 million men, women, and children of all ages and races in Canada are inflicted with this chronic illness. And whereas fibromyalgia often takes an average of 3 to 5 years to diagnose. And whereas there is no known cause of, prevention of, or cure of fibromyalgia. And whereas fibromyalgia is a complete illness whose symptoms vary widely and may include debilitating chronic pain, overwhelming fatigue, and cognitive impairment. And whereas patients with fibromyalgia often have a number of coexisting conditions, which may include chronic myofascial pain, irritable bowel syndrome, temporomandibular TMJ, environmental sensitivities, anxiety, and depression. And whereas fibromyalgia greatly reduces quality of life, can cause total disability, and also affect families, friends, and employers. Living with chronic pain and fatigue on a daily basis can lead to social isolation. So it is important for sufferers and their family, friends, and caregivers to know that they are not alone. And whereas people with fibromyalgia have a right to be treated with dignity and have a right to pain relief. And together, sorry, I have this, by the way. So sorry. And together we will find ways to enhance the quality of lives for people who are affected by this.
Therefore, I, Sherry Bondi, Mayor of the Corporation of the Town of Essex, on behalf of Town Council, do hereby proclaim May 12th as Fibromyalgia Awareness Day in the municipality of the Town of Essex and call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens. Thank you, Ms. Brown, for reading that. Committee meeting minutes. We need a mover and a seconder for the committee meeting minutes listed in agenda item 14. Councillor Guerin, Deputy Mayor Shepley, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, and that's carried unanimously. There is nothing under new business tonight. We do have a notice of motion. I will go to Deputy Clerk, Ms. Brown.
Madam Mayor, the following notice of motion is being presented this evening and will be brought forward for council's consideration at the May 15th regular council meeting. That Greg Horricky be recognized as a longtime promoter and organizer of the Colchester Walleye Derby by erecting a sign stating the home of professional walleye tour event winner Greg Horricky on the entrance signs to Colchester Center.
Back at our next council meeting. Reports and announcements from council members. I don't know, maybe, I don't know which, I started that way. I'll start this way this time. Councillor Mady.
Just wanted to let the community know that Onyx Fitness has started a walking program. So it's a free program for anybody. You don't have to belong to the gym. So Monday nights at 7 o'clock, just meet at their gym if you're interested. So it's every Monday. I'm not sure how long they go, but they do have a goal to walk as far as from here to Ottawa before the end of October, I believe. So if anybody's looking for a partner to walk with, head on over to Onyx Monday nights at 7.
Can we like skip the council meeting or something? I will all go. Councillor Allard.
Today, thank you.
Ruby. Shepley. Aaron. Or Hammond.
Just do want to mention that May 1st is the opening day for Colchester Harbor. So anybody that's looking to fill their slip, now's the time to start doing it as security is now on duty. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hammond. Bylaws, looking for third and final reading for bylaw 2240, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the April 13th meeting be read a third time and finally passed on May 1st. Looking for a mover and a seconder on this. Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Hammond. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor. That one was done. So bylaws requiring a first and a second reading, bylaw 2246 being a bylaw for the Malden Road drain, being a bylaw that 2246 being a bylaw to provide for the Malden Road drain be read a first, second, and provisionally adopted on May 1st. Councillor McGuire Blaze, Councillor Hammond, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor. That is carried unanimously. Bylaw 2243 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the May 1st meeting. That this bylaw 2243 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the May 1st, 2023 regular meeting of council be read a first and a second time provisionally adopted on May 1st. Councillor Verbeek and Deputy Mayor Shepley, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously too. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Hammond, any questions on that? Our next meeting is May 15th, and that is all in favor. Thank you for joining us tonight, those in person and those on Zoom.